You're listening to the number one buzzer beater podcast, FML Radio Live.
Welcome back to FML Radio. It's been a while, but we're glad to be back here with you all. We're very sorry for the season-long break. We don't expect that to happen again, but my name is Checkries. I manage the Flash Mashers. I've been playing since season 11, and I'm proud to be the host of FML Radio.
I'm Kay Henry, kind of co-hosting here with Check. Really sorry that this took forever for us to get back. I managed Shrewsbury Honey Badgers. We had a pretty good team last year, but sold everyone off. So if you want to hear about bad teams and training, I'm your guy. But we're really hoping to get these back up and running a lot more frequently. Got a couple good guests lined up. We're kind of shooting for that 20 to 30 minute range. Even have some global episodes maybe coming up in the future, but really hoping to make this more of a regular thing.
Yeah, this is a USA show because me and Kay Henry both run out of the USA, so we'll be focused more on those issues. But anybody is definitely welcome to listen to the 20 minutes. And today we're going to be focusing a bit on national team involvement. Our two guests for today are both national team coaches. We have the current national team coach for the US, Isaiah, as well as Jason, former GM Jason, who used to be the coach of the USA national team. So yeah, we're going to get started. We'll bring on Isaiah. Isaiah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
What's up? My name's Isaiah. I am the coach of Blue Collar Gold Swaggers, formerly known as the Small Fries. Been playing on buzzer beater since I believe season 12. And I don't know. You have any questions for me?
I just want to say I was super sad when you switched your team name. That's all.
Yeah, I figured I demoted all the way down to D4, and it was time for a new look.
Looking at the national team, just because that's kind of what we're focusing on today, what does it mean for America, for the USA, to be kind of dominant with Americas? And I know we had a little bit of run with Worlds, but what does it mean specifically just for taking Continentals on a pretty regular basis and not really going to consolations every year?
Well, obviously it's nice to win the Americas. It's usually an easier competition. It's a good way to kind of lead into the Worlds to kind of get some traction as far as what kind of game plans you want to have and the kind of strategies you want to use for the Worlds. So the Americas are definitely a great place to try things out. Just like this last season, we tried out quite a bit. We didn't focus on any one tactic, so it's a good time to do that kind of stuff.
How has the support been from the other members in the USA community during the couple seasons that you've been the manager?
Not as great as I wanted it. Part of that's my own fault. I would have liked to have done more with the community to get more involvement. Part of it, though, also with the U.S. losing so many managers, and globally on buzzer beater in general, we're losing a lot of managers. Just the whole national team competition, not as many people are focused on it. So hopefully moving forward, we'll be able to get more people involved, especially this next, the Worlds. I would enjoy so much having everyone's involvement with that.
That's good. We're actually going to bring on Jason to talk about how the past days that you mentioned, how they compare to current season. Jason, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Jason. I'm the coach of Arizona Desert Storm. I've been playing this game since season 12, and I was the NT coach back in season 17 and 18.
You want to go ahead and just tell us a little bit about the Arizona Desert Storm? How are they doing?
My team has been to the final 6 seasons. We've lost the MBBA championship 4 times in a row, but we're actually overachieving. I'm not disappointed with the losses. I promoted to the MBBA a little bit too quick. And first I ran into Magicker's loaded NT team, NT player team, and then, of course, A-Dub with the best team the USA's ever seen. So I've been kind of running a mix of winning games, winning conference championships, and making money. I don't like playing for second place, but there was no competing with A-Dub the last few seasons. So, but it's been a lot of fun. My team's been to the finals and more than half the seasons I've played. So I enjoyed that part of it.
Awesome. Well, do you want to talk a little bit about how your time as national team coach how did the players stack up?
I guess the two main differences I would say that like with the cultures is that back then there were a lot more of the veteran coaches involved in the NT program. Guys that were MBBA guys for a while, guys that had won championships, guys that had previously been the NT coach. So you had a lot of the elite members of USA that were part of the program, which was good and bad because you had some very strong opinions. And so no matter what you did, you were either being celebrated or ripped. I mean, there were hardly any in between. But the one thing that we didn't have, I think it's a little better now, is at that time, and JFAR really got it started, was trying to get the community to really be more proactive about training players. And we still don't have a lot of people doing it like we need, but at least there's a larger group of people that are dedicated to doing that now. And at least it puts the program in a better situation going forward. But back then, you had very few people that were committed to training USA players and sticking with it and building guys up for that program. So we relied a lot, especially for game shape, on foreigners, and that was kind of tough.
Now, Jason, those are the differences. What have you seen as the biggest similarities since that's going to be 20 seasons ago that you were the NT coach? There have been salary changes, game engine changes. There's been a huge change in the number of users in the USA and worldwide. What are the biggest similarities between your time as manager and what Isaiah's going through currently with the USA?
Oh, I think the format with the offsite forum is generally the same. Seeking out opinions and having different people, chime in with tactical choices and strategies, things like that. That dynamic's always been going on. You've always got, where some people think one way and other people think a different way. And ultimately the coach has to make that decision. I think we're a little bit more versatile than we used to. So the coach can choose to play different tactics. And whereas back then, I mean, we were strictly look inside.
So Isaiah, flipping over to you, you were obviously very successful with some of those managerial decisions that Jason was talking about. We went undefeated this season in Americas and won the gold. What were the biggest challenges in that process? Were there any games or matchups that you expected that were very worrisome? And how did that process go?
Honestly, the only real challenging games I felt were against Brazil. That I felt was a must win. And then obviously the championship game against Argentina. Argentina had home court advantage. That's obviously a big deal when it comes to the national teams. They were putting up some pretty comparable ratings compared to us defensively. So that was a big challenge, just figuring out how we wanted to run our offense because honestly, myself, I didn't know if we could compete against them. I'm a little pessimistic though. But the fact that we were very unpredictable throughout the season made it easier. But I wouldn't say there was a bunch of challenges though, other than more of myself being a little pessimistic about the team.
I just want to say from our end as a USA user and be involved in the managing decisions and the tactics and everything as far as the USA national team goes, that we really want to get more people involved with the national team. We'd love to see more people registered on the offsite. We'd love to see more discussion going on in the forums. We'd love to see more people training those USA players like Jason talked about. So before we switch topics to both of you, how do you think we can get users involved and what can they do to help out?
You want me to go first? I'll go first. That's fine.
You go first.
Okay. From a guy in the NBA and competing in the country, obviously with the revenue and things that I have going on, I have the ability to go out and buy the expensive players. But this season was really a good example of the fact that this last few seasons with the way he did build this team, which was phenomenal. But he was able to basically corner the market on a lot of those NT guys that were available. And as a result, he had a huge advantage in merchandise revenue, carry a much higher payroll, and be just dominant. I mean, he wasn't even challenged on the road, let alone it had an entire national team loaded with players that were American grown, so we don't have to worry about foreigners buying. It puts us in a much better position to have a lot of those players spread out among a lot more teams, and just having one team capitalize on it. It's kind of changed the dynamic of the NBA right now. And Slash Masters, Jack, you're trying to do the same thing basically, where you've got those players and now it's gone to you, but there's no room for anybody else to compete in that regard. But if we had more coaches across the country developing those players, it would create more opportunity to have, more of an opportunity to be competitive and not just basically give it up to one team and let them kind of run with the baton.
And Isaiah, how about you? How do you think managers can help out?
Well, Jason talked about, A-Dub and even you, you're now purchasing all the older national team players. You're going to help out. I mean, they're obviously not going to be on the team very long, but they're going to help your own team out. They're going to help the national team out. So even those older players that everyone tends to forget about, purchasing them, because as they're older, they're going to be a little cheaper on the trade market. So getting them on your team, their salary probably will go down after a couple seasons. They may still be able to help the national team out. And another aspect is just the training in general. People tend to forget about the salary. What is that? That they have the salary cap or whatever they have on the
salary floor.
Yeah, the
salary floor.
Right. Yeah. Where, I mean, if you're training players, their salaries are going up, but your floor, it's not going to affect it. So you can effectively train players and help the national team even that way. Even if, you might have to sell because you don't promote and you can't afford the player, but down the line, those players are going to help the national team and benefit the national team and your own team and give you a chance to promote yourself as well.
Awesome. Well, we're going to turn it over really quick for an ad break, and we'll see you back here in just a few seconds.
Have you got what it takes to be the best? Buzzer Beater is an online basketball simulation game that pits you against other managers across the planet. Play head-to-head against those other challengers, employing strategic gameplay and statistical analysis. Go beyond fantasy basketball and run your own franchise. You're the manager, you pick the players and you train them, and you tell them how to play. Want a bigger arena? Build it. Want to draft a superstar? It's all about scouting, baby. You make the decisions and you're in charge. Buzzer Beater never sleeps, so why should you? Sign up now to play against the greatest basketball managers in the world. And hey, it's free at buzzerbeater.com. Do you want to get the edge on your opponents? The Buzzer Manager site helps the world's largest basketball manager game users from Buzzer Beater prepare their games better by giving them statistics on their next opponents. You get those full statistics, including game ratings, player statistics, and strategies used. In-depth analysis on your league, including team salaries and how much they're making from their arena. It aids to help your team setup, and it's a tool for calculating salary. Buzzer-manager.com. No official affiliation with Buzzer Beater. Are you a USA manager on Buzzer Beater? Join the official offsite for all USA managers. Create a team diary to tell others how you're doing. Receive training advice and team tips from experienced managers. And keep up to date on game planning and scouting for the USA Under-21 and national team. The USA Offsite. Find the link to join in the Buzzer Beater USA forums.
This is JK All The Way, manager of Jokers, and you're listening to FML Radio Live.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to FML Radio, and we're really quick about one team, and we like to do this each episode we do. We spotlight a specific team that's not necessarily always there. This week, we're going to talk about the New York Nuggets. They are in Division 2.2 relegation match last season. It was their first season Division 2 after promoting up from Division 3.9. But according to their team log on the offsite, they're planning to tank this season in season 36. So they're They're seeing a lot of aging. Theo Edmond and Marcus Owens, their main players that they trained up from the ground themselves, are now over 30. So they're gonna liquidate everything, get some young talent, and hopefully they'll bounce back up in just a little bit. That's our spotlight for the week.
As the Nuggets are tanking, Isaiah, what are some of the pitfalls that some teams, because this is something that I know some NBBA managers have talked about as well, but just from your standpoint, Isaiah, what are the pitfalls of tanking where it's try to tank, train, promote? What can go wrong, and what are some of the benefits of tanking and acquiring that young talent?
Sure. Well, I mean, I just did it myself, actually, tanking down. It was a slow tank, first from 2 to Division 3, and then I finally, after about 5 seasons of not having much success in D3 again, I went ahead and tanked to D4. So while tanking like that and getting those great picks, I mean, you can get some great Hall of Fame prospects. I mean, I myself was able to pull Hall of Famer. I know several other teams that they've been able to draft Hall of Fame draftees that they've been able to train for the under 21 and national team. At the same time, there are some negative outcomes. Like myself, I originally tanked out of D2 thinking I could get back instantly. That did not happen. I've seen a few teams that have done that. They've gone from the MBBA level down all the way to D4, and then they struggle because the competition, I mean, while there isn't as many teams, there are a lot of quality ones, and there's a lot of managers that know what they're doing. So that can be a negative outcome from tanking like that.
How does tanking provide an opportunity for teams to help out the junior national team and the national team?
Obviously when they tank, they can a lot of money from tanking actually, which I think that's a negative part of the tanking from the buzzer beater aspect. They shouldn't have done it that way, but by tanking, you can pocket all that money from tanking, and you can purchase players for the under 21 or national team level as well. There's a lot of teams that, they've been able to purchase these star players with Hall of Fame or even less. And by tanking, you can also, when you go to those lower levels like the D4, D3, you're in a better position to train players out of position. And when you train players out of position, their future is brighter because, they're going to get more skill pops in the secondaries that are going to make them more valuable for both the under 21 and national team. And those teams at, D2 or the MBBA, they aren't in a position to train out of position. So sometimes tanking can really benefit the national team and under 21 in that way.
Tanking is really a fun but touchy subject. So, check, have we got a news post yet for this season?
I was just checking that, and it's still not out yet, actually, which is unfortunate. Plan to talk about how the news post is going to affect the season to come. But I'll just ask Jason this. So, Jason, you were a GM for several years. What can you tell us about the back end of things, or what users might not see about why things may take longer than a lot of users would like, or what a lot of users expect?
Oh boy, I could get in trouble for answering this question. I was actually a BB for a little while too. I did some marketing for Buzzer Beater way back when, and I was a BB, and mainly on that side. The reality is, as far as we hear about the designers of the game, the programmers, all that, there's really just one. The two main owners are not involved anymore. There's one developer, and he's on his own. He's out of Croatia. He's an awesome guy, incredibly smart, and we need 3 or 4 more of him. So with respect to what goes on behind the scenes, we have one developer that's pretty much on his own, and he's an awesome guy, and he's really, really smart. And he does just a phenomenal job, but the job really is bigger than one person. And so I think that limits a lot of growth that we could see from a developmental point of view, and not just in terms of big things like graphics, which would be incredible, but some of the updates to the game engine, things like that. Those are big undertakings. And also on a side note, the game was originally written by one of the founders, and he used his own language. So this developers have to learn that language. So it's not as easy as just bringing somebody else who knows. You got to know this code, and it's not something that you can pick up overnight. So that's really limited the growth of the game and limited some of the changes that we see, other than some of the cosmetic things that they've done to, for uniforms or for this or that, or things that don't really affect the actual game engine. But, I would say that in a nutshell, though, Buzzer Beater could be a lot further along than it is if there was more effort to have more of a staff and give the one developer a little bit more support.
I feel like we just learned that from the buzzer beater side where you're competitive, we just learned that Jason basically demoted from the NBBA of the back end all the way to D4.
In my actual tanking, I only went to D3. And then with respect to what we were talking about earlier with tanking and how it can help the national teams, like in the NBBA, we have a player salary floor of, I don't know, $389,000 or something like that. So teams that choose the tank, they're still going to have $500,000 in revenue coming in to offset any of that. So they can pick up some of these really expensive players and still have a bunch of trainees that they're working with, so they can host or hold some of these national team players and not without concern for their own finances. We've had teams in the past like Jay Farb, when he was really active, that would actually take a loss in an effort to help the national team. When you're tanking, that's not even an issue. And then you have the opportunity as you're dropping, as Isaiah alluded to, that you could, with drafts and things like that, you can pick up really, really good players, and you're not terribly concerned about whether you're winning or losing, except for the cup, while you're doing that. So you can feel free to train out of position. But there's a lot of money to be made as you drop down. I wouldn't recommend people to tank all the way to D4. There's a significant drop off, especially with your revenue, attendance revenue, when you go from 3 to 4. And you could pretty much hover in 3 for a while without having to have a crazy, strong lineup, and you could still be making money at that point and training players and avoid relegation. At least that's the experience that I've had.
Interesting. Well, thanks for I like the insights about the back end of Buzzer Beater, because I think that's something that a lot of users don't get to see. So knowing things about like the coding of the game engine or what the developers of the game are doing is something that's always super, super awesome to hear about. But one of the updates they did make that I'd like to talk about really quick is the donation. I personally donated about $10, if I remember right. And for a while, it seemed to be helping out the user base, but that number seemed to drop down again. I don't know if you have if you can tell us anything about how those donations are being used, or if they're impacting the game positively.
Yeah, the donations are specifically going towards marketing, towards banner ads and internet marketing. The thing is just the nature of our user base. You have to remember, a lot of the people in the smaller countries, they only play this game because it's free. And as it is for them to even get to a computer is a challenge for some of them. So, you gave $10. I mean, that's a fortune to half of the user base that actually play this game. And so when they initially did it, I think there was that, gung-ho attitude from everybody. It was like, oh, wow, great, I want to help. And people did. And then now you see it tapering off, and we don't add enough users consistently to compensate for the fact that the people that already gave. So until they get to a point where they're adding things to the game to make it more attractive and to bring in more users, I personally think that was kind of like a one-time hit. Hopefully it has a benefit from a marketing perspective, but I don't see it as a viable long-term strategy.
Well, looking back on season 35, real quick, I wanted to hit on a few things. We saw A-Dub continue to dominate, and he won both the USA Cup and the NBBA Championship. So hats off to him for being the first team to win both championships 3 times in a row.
I was so disappointed I didn't get to play A-Dub. I was 1 game away, and all I wanted to do was just get smashed by him, and it didn't happen.
Just wanted to get smashed by A-Dub. I think a lot of people have that desire. And that's actually one thing I wanted to hit on. Kay had a lot of success in the Cup. How was that being in the semifinals? I've never even gotten that far.
It was a full commitment to the Cup. I I almost didn't make my D3 playoffs running with a salary of $500,000 just because every week, even if I could kind of stay competitive with some of the teams, I wanted to manage game shape. So I went all in with the cup. I normaled, I think, 3 of my matches getting to the semifinals, which then I played tie on it because there was no chance of me winning at that point. But it was game shape management the whole way there. I struggled to kind of stay afloat in my league because of it, but I mean, everyone plays for different reasons, and if I wanted to, I could have just went 22-0 in my league and not done anything in the cup, but it was a lot more fun to make a cup run because not everyone gets to do that, let alone I think there's only been like 3 teams since like season 10 that have been D3 and made the semifinals. So that was a lot of fun. And I mean, I'd love to make NBBA and get a few more eyes and attention on stuff, but to make a cup run was something I wasn't really expecting at the beginning of the year, but dang, it was fun.
Yeah, I'm really jealous. I've never made that far in the cup. Hope maybe this season we'll see. But it's always an league play. Tended to give a lot more credence to league play, as I don't know. I feel like it benefits your team more. But I definitely get you saying that it's really, really cool to see your team make it super far in a national tournament. And we wanted to talk a little bit about the new teams that are coming into the NBBA. Jason, you might be able to give us a little bit of a rundown on them. What can you tell us about Extra Crispy, Silver Dogs, Irvine Anteaters, or the Serenity Valley Browncoats?
All the teams. As far as Irvine Anteaters, they were in the league in the NBBA a couple seasons ago. They didn't make any changes. They came in and hung out and relegated. This is actually my 4th different time in a league with Extra Crispy. I think that if there's any team out there that's had bad luck and truly deserved to be here, it's Extra Crispy. That guy's had injuries get in his way. He's had, I mean, it's just unbelievable the path that he's had. I
actually played against Extra Crispy a while back. I'm trying to go and see exactly when it was. Looks like season 19. Yes, season 19. I was the favorite to win our league, and he beat me by 1 point in the first round of the playoffs. I was so upset. So I'll definitely
one of the seasons I played him, I felt like I was a heavy favorite. I mean, I had like my team 10 shoulders better. And it took everything we had.
You can never really count him out.
And I think now that he's here, you aren't going to see him go anywhere. So anyway, I just started saying I don't know a lot about Silver Dogs other than what I've seen from them on paper. They look really strong. They put up strong game ratings, especially for their payroll. And then Serenity Browncoats has been around forever. And they look like they're going to be a really tough team. I don't expect them to go anywhere. I know that he indicated, though, on one of his forum posts that typically when he promotes, he just basically tries to stay afloat and kind of assess things. I need to be a little bit more aggressive in the NBBA to stay afloat. I don't think he can just coast through and get the same roster and stay. But we'll see what happens there. It's interesting when teams get to the NBA strategy; they're all over the place.
It's definitely going to be an interesting one. Isaiah, what do you know about these new teams in the NBBA, and what are your expectations as an outsider from the NBBA as far as the season goes with the National Cup and the top league?
This is going to be embarrassing, but I'm just going to be quite honest. I do not keep track of the NBBA whatsoever. I'm pretty much always focused on the national team and, well, my own league. I don't really spend too much time looking at the NBBA.
I think that's actually a good thing to realize, because not every teams outside of the NBBA really care about as the season goes on. Small Fry or Isaiah obviously cares about the national team, being the coach and all. As a user in Division III, what are you expecting to get out of this season?
For me, basically, it's just about training. I've got a Hall of Fame trainee. My goals for him is to get him to the national team. So I'm going to be training him a lot out of position. But I plan on being in D2 and hopefully by next season. And my goal is NBBA level in 3 seasons.
Awesome. Well, Kay Henry, do you have anything else you'd like to cover before we wrap up the show?
No, I'd just like to say that there are, for anyone who's looking at the Cup or NBBA, it begins and ends with A-Dub, and for a lot of people, that's where they stop paying attention, because when someone's so dominant, for a lot of people who aren't in the NBBA, obviously if you're in the NBBA, you have to see where you're going to stack up. But for everyone else, it's when is A-Dub going to win, or where is he managing everything? And then outside of A-Dub, I am personally pulling for Serenity Valley Browncoats to win, just because that is an awesome Firefly reference, and I'm sure that they aim to misbehave.
Well, we definitely expect it to be an interesting season. We're a little sad we missed the news post, but we'll try and get another episode up soon to talk about the changes coming our way. We'd like to give a big thank you to Isaiah and Jason for coming on the show. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no problem. And I have one thing to say. All I'm saying is everyone better join the offsite. If you don't, me and Jason are going to freaking crunch time the crap out of you guys, and we're going to injure every one of your players.
Isaiah's coming for you.
Apparently, so am I.
All right. Well, thanks for coming out, guys. We'll see you later.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks to everyone who's given us feedback on FML Radio. We're going to try and get another episode, like I said. We'd like to apologize if there were any recording errors. K. Henry's going to try and edit them out, but we had a couple of connection issues. But if you would like to be on FML Radio, or if you would like to hear any sort of topic or anything discussed, let us know. Send me or K. Henry a BB mail. We'll be doing an episode as time permits.
Obviously, this is going to be, as we said, USA based. But if you're a foreign listener and you have something that you want to talk about that affects the global buzzer beater community, feel free to reach out to us as well. I know I'm running for an under 21 in a foreign country right now. So if I get that, I'd love to talk a lot more about some of these other countries outside of the USA. But if you have a topic, feel free to BB mail us about anything. We'll do some research and we'll talk about it.
This has been a great episode. Thanks for listening to FML Radio Live.